am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Good morning to you. Let me fix it because I want this background to be shown. So let me just do that and go to this. Yes. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Inspire. Listen, I was so excited about getting back here after 2 months that I completely forgot to do my countdown. But it's all right. It is okay. I'm so excited to be back. Took a much needed 2-month hiatus. If you know anything about me, you know that June and July are my busiest months doing all of the things. And so, yeah, Inspire had to kind of take a pause for a little bit. But I'm so glad that I see some of those of you who are coming in on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to share this broadcast out this morning because, listen, we have a fabulous guest, and I don't want anybody to miss that. We have a fabulous guest, and we are going to get into conversation with him in just a little bit. But I want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. So many of you have already been following me on Cara Solutions LLC, and I thank you for that. I'm building up the Inspire with Sue W platform. So for the time that we are on Facebook and Instagram, I want you to follow me there. You can also head over to our website at www.getinspired.live to find out all about the show and to subscribe to our newsletter. Some wonderful things happening with Inspire, and we don't want you to miss a thing. So do us a favor, connect, follow, like, and subscribe. So I'm going to just jump in to what I want to talk about. Well, you know, if you're just joining me, if you don't know who I am, what Inspire is, I'm your host, Sue Webley. I'm an author, producer, an award-winning minister, and entrepreneur. And I believe in the power of words, wisdom, and witness. And so that is exactly what Inspire is all about. It is a live interview style broadcast that is on a mission to encourage, empower, and embolden individuals to create change in their lives, their communities, and in the world. And so as our amazing, fabulous guests, our entrepreneurs, our influencers, our creatives, and thought leaders share their testimonies, tips, and tools with us, we hope that you are inspired to elevate your mindset, pursue your dreams, and do, as the late Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon put it so eloquently, the work your soul must have. So that is all about Inspire. But I want to, before we get into conversation with our guest today, you know, some things have happened in the time that Inspire was, you know, on hiatus. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is the passing of this so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, right? It was signed into law earlier this month, and I don't know about y'all, right? But I get nervous when politicians wrap harmful policy in really, really pretty language, right? They kind of like to put the glitter on injustice and, present it back to us like it's some gift, right? Um, and so there are elements of this bill that might really seem like, we're making some progress, right? So there's tax breaks for workers, no federal tax on tips, increased child tax credits. But, when you dig a little deeper into it, there's nothing beautiful about this bill. So one of the things that they're doing, they're cutting over $1 trillion from Medicaid and SNAP. And so that's taking food out of people's mouths. That's taking food off of their tables, right? That is healthcare that is being stripped from the poor. We know that and our children, right? Not only the adults, but our children will be suffering with under this big, beautiful bill, right? We already know what demographic is going to feel that the most, right? Like Black families, queer youth, single mothers, elders on fixed income. It is going to disproportionately, oh my God, I can't talk this one in, impact marginalized communities. And so if you're a student and you are in school with student loans, yeah, they're overhauling that, right? So they're pushing people into this 30-year repayment plan. That's a lifetime of debt, right? They're giving out workforce Pell Grants for short-term training, and they're not interested in the kind of the kind of quality, equitable, liberating type of education that our communities need. And this 150 billion in defense, right? Billions more for ICE. They're expanding detention centers. They're ramping up deportations with a target of 1 million people per year. What? 1 million people, y'all. Right? It's like they're building up this empire and they're tearing down our ability to live with decency, right? With decency and with dignity. And despite the name, again, it's being branded as beautiful. It's a violent bill and it's harmful, right? And it's yet another example of policy that is designed to protect power while punishing the poor. I want to hear your thoughts on this, because me, as a woman of faith, as a mother, as a minister, as someone who is living at the intersections, I'm not fooled by this, y'all, right? I'm not fooled by this. So I want to ask you today, and I want your thoughts on it today. Hey, oh, listen, the professor is here, Professor Natasha. Good seeing y'all coming in on Instagram and all the other social media platforms. Professor, I am talking about this one big, beautiful bill. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If y'all see me looking over there, that is Instagram. So, hey, Instagram. Hey, Instagram. So my question is, where's the beauty in stripping care from people who need it the most? Where's the beauty in building cages while families go hungry, right? Where's the beauty in increasing debt, right? And increasing harm? And so if we are going to call something beautiful, if we're going to call something beautiful, let it be the kind of beauty that heals, that frees, right? And that feeds. Let it be that. Let it be something that is taking care of everyone in the community, that is not taking food off the tables, taking money out of pockets, eliminating the ability to get a quality education, right? If you're going to call something beautiful, let it be that. Let it be that. Let it be something that is good for us, good for our community, good for our country, good for the world. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that big, beautiful bill. Thank you for allowing me the space to do that before we bring on guests on. And I'm certainly going to engage Adeeb in some conversation about that big, beautiful bill during our time together, during our time together. So it is now time to be introduced to this amazing individual. I found Adeeb on LinkedIn. And when I read Adeeb's bio and I looked at Adeeb's page, I was just like, this is the person. This is someone who is the epitome of inspiration, right? This is the type of individual that we love to have on Inspire, okay? And so he has given me so much hope for the future. Just 18 years old. He's already a social entrepreneur. He's been an entrepreneur for years now. He's an educator. He's a restorative justice facilitator who is leading bold, transformative work in education, in youth development, and in public service. Adeeb is the founder and chief executive officer of CEOs of Color Incorporated, an organization created to empower young people of color as they build entrepreneur and leadership skills. And y'all, like I said, he's been doing this work. He started this work a decade ago, okay? He has received national awards for his efforts in violence prevention and education reform, led community safety projects with partners in Nigeria, and even shared stages with my forever president, President Obama, and Lil Durk. And so he's getting ready to head to Morehouse College on a full ride scholarship. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how he got started, the communities he's building, what keeps him grounded as a rising voice in national conversations about justice and youth leadership. And so welcome with me, Adeeb Borden, to Inspire.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you, Adeeb. And thank you for saying yes. And listen, just thank you for being here. And I want to thank Adeeb's mom because she popped her head in. So, hey, mom. We might have to pull her in at some point in the interview to have a few words, but we were talking about it before. It might be a series. We might have his mom on in the future.
The stories she can tell. Oh, the stories she can tell.
Oh, the stories she can tell. We love storytellers here in Inspire. So grateful for all of the work that you're doing. Before we get into our conversation, what are you sipping on, Adeeb?
I'm sipping on some decaf coffee. Mm-hmm. All right, some decaf coffee in one of my favorite mugs. I've actually given to me by my first high school principal.
Oh wait, let's see the mug.
Big A on it.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I also have decaf coffee. Now, some of you who have been with me for a while, y'all know that I love. There's always coffee in my cup. And listen, the stronger the better. Okay, if it could start a car, yeah, that's what I want in my cup. But guess what, y'all? It's not really friendly to the whole esophagus, right? The gastrointestinal, it's not friendly. Okay, it doesn't do my body good as much as I love it. So I too have decaf coffee in my cup and trying to get used to it all over again. Because there was a time that I drank decaf a lot. And then this kind of went back to caffeine. And one of my favorite coffees, because you said you make Starbucks coffee at home, is that cortada. It's like, those 3 shots, risotto shots of blonde espresso, with sugar-free brown sugar syrup and some oat milk.
Oh, I love oat milk.
Listen, we thank God for creating the coffee bean and giving us the intelligence. Yes. Put some hot water on that thing and mix it with other things to make it taste good.
Amen.
So let's get into our conversation today, Adeeb. Again, it is an extreme pleasure to have you with us. You have already such an impressive body of work. So can you tell us a little bit, share your journey with us a little bit? What sparked your journey as a young change maker and social entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, where do I start? So I'll just give you a little bit of background for me. I'm a triplet. I have two triplet sisters. I'm the youngest of five women. Um, and the woman who you met earlier today is actually my godmother, but
Mm,
became my mother after a few situations. I lost my guardian in 2020. She had a heart attack behind the wheel and died.
mhm,
And so my godmother, who's known me for my entire life, I met her in my church actually, became my mother probably when I was 13. And so that is who I credited to being kind of the force behind a lot of the things that I've done, because the things that I've done could have not been possible without her support.
yeah,
So when I first started my nonprofit, she gave me $100 to start a website, to pay for a website domain, and probably didn't believe in why I did the business, but believed in me. So therefore, she was willing to support my vision and dreams. Uh, so yeah, I credit my church, Park Manor Christian Church, as being the stepping stone for my courage to speak
mhm,
up, my courage for social change.
mhm,
I think a lot of it's just my personality. I have a personality who just cannot sit and see injustice. I have to act. And then I credit the Gary Coleman Youth Center, which is a after school program here on the south side of Chicago that gave me the platform to develop my craft. And so I think that was kind of, another eye opening for me. And then as I matriculated throughout high school, I had many high schools that also elevated my gifts and talents, and kind of cultivating who I am today.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. You have certainly done more before the age of 20 than some people get to do in their entire lifetime. And so thank you for sharing a little bit about your journey and for crediting, right? The village
Yeah,
that helped you get to where you are. Because we don't do this work by
yeah,
ourselves, right?
yeah,
We don't walk alone.
yeah.
You don't walk alone. And so, shout out to the village that has helped Adeeb, that has walked with Adeeb to help him to get to where he is and continue to walk with him to where he's going. So, tell us about your organization. You are the founder and the chief executive officer of CEOs of Color. What inspired you to create this particular space
Yeah.
for Black and Brown youth? And can you tell us a little bit about how that vision has evolved since
Yeah.
its beginning?
So we have to really go all the way back. So originally, when I first started my nonprofit journey, I started an organization called Black Youth Leadership 21. It's a very long name, and it was focused on mental health resources, but also it had a particular education focus. And so I was an educational consultant, quote unquote,
Mhm.
who focused on helping build the connection between teachers and students in education. And so one of the biggest things that I did in cultivating that organization was I had a professional development that says uncover the mask of every child you serve. And so what does that mean? I was one of those kids who was going through so much at home that
Mhm.
oftentimes I went to school and I wore a mask, and you would have never known the stuff I went through before I
Wow.
got to school. And I always said that if teachers understood that maybe we can see a change in engagement of students in educational environments. And so
Mhm.
for many years, I kind of did that for many years, and realized that I was too, I was premature for that organization. I wasn't ready. I didn't have the skill set. I didn't have quite the knowledge. I had the vision, but I didn't have the knowledge necessary to execute the vision in the way that it needed to be successfully executed.
Yes.
And so I pivoted into actually doing business consulting. And so I worked with nonprofits, startup nonprofits, and helping them develop fundraising efforts. I'm also more around operations and strategic
Mhm.
planning. And so I worked for a nonprofit here in Chicago, where I served as a chief development officer for a while. Well, then after that, I realized that I really loved helping young people start businesses. And I was fascinated with entrepreneur education, which kind of brings my love of entrepreneurship and education combined. And so I was meeting with one of my mom's coworkers about and just give you a background. My mom works for Illinois Association of School Boards, so she kind of does stuff in education. And I was meeting with her coworkers, and I was talking about my business, and she came up with this cool name, and she's like, "Oh, Adeeb, this can be called CEOs of Color." So it actually wasn't my name originally. It was actually my mom's coworker who says, "Oh, wow, like this is like CEOs of Color." And I ran with the name, and I said, "Oh, that's a great name for what I'm trying to do in the city of Chicago." And so I developed a program called CEOs of Color, which was focused on helping Black and Brown young people start businesses. The philosophy that business was a pathway to college success. And so I'll just give you a background. So my godmother, my mom, you know, education is an expectation in our house. It's like, you know, she was the first introduction into education. When I was probably 8 years old, my grandmother said, "Adeeb, I don't know any kid who knows as many colleges as you do." And so, you know, and this is a woman who is now 86 who received an MBA from Loyola University, the first Black woman to receive it. And so education was very prevalent in their family, and I was able to join their family. And so I always believe that college is the expectation if you have the access and the ability to attain a college degree. And so I wanted to make sure that if I started an organization, that it was designed to help Black and Brown young people get to college for free or for affordable. So that really was my vision. And so I ran that nonprofit for about 5 years. And one of the good things about it is that we accomplished a lot, but we still were in the startup phases of that nonprofit. And so what was our impact? Our impact was bringing entrepreneur education to the forefront. That was our impact. That was what we were able to accomplish. And, you know, actually now I'm in the process of dissolving my nonprofit as I transition into this next chapter of my life, because what leaders do is that they assess the situation, they assess what the need was, did they reach that process of success, and then they say, okay, this has ran its course. And what I say in that is by saying, we reached the success we wanted to reach. We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. And what did we want to accomplish? An impact in the city of Chicago. Letting young people understand that, yes, you too can wake up one day and be an entrepreneur, that you too can inspire to go to college. You too can be a Morehouse man or a Spelman Knight and go for free. And so these are avenues that you can take. And so my impact is the lives that I've been able to touch by the blueprint of my legacy. And so that's kind of that, you know, my journey and kind of my impact and where we are in that business now. As CEOs of Color begins to take a new form in my new business called Borden & Co. Consulting, which focuses on nonprofit strategic planning and professional development for nonprofits.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. It really is important as leaders, right? As you know, as founders of organizations and businesses, to know when to pivot and to know when to let go. Or to know when to transfer. And I think a lot of us, and you know, in my experience anyway, we like to hold on to things, right? Because you know, we may have had some really, really good successes, but you know, we tend to get stuck there, right? There's so much more for us to be able to do. And so it's important for us to be able to pivot, to be comfortable. I mean, sometimes pivoting is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable for a lot of people. But it's in that pivot where, okay, this might be looking a little different now, but it's going to be so much better and so much bigger because I've taken the step to kind of not really walk away from it, but to change it. To change it. So thank you for bringing that up. Also, we talk a lot about education and going back to that one big beautiful bill. It's the impact that is going to have on our communities, on our young people who are trying to go to college, who want a quality, equitable education, is going to impact them in a major way. What are your thoughts about that and this one big beautiful bill?
Yeah, what I say to that is we're at a point in our country where we need to understand the power of voting
Mm-hmm.
and how one vote can change the result of an election.
Yeah.
And so really it is my generation, the ones who just turned 18, though newcomers, voters, it is imperative that we teach them how it may not impact you now, but in 10 years, 20 years, it will. 10 to 20 years, you will feel the impact. And many of us, especially our families and our friends who are in the LGBTQ community, are feeling that impact now.
Yeah.
And so if we don't understand the importance of voting, I don't think none of us are shocked. I think America voted for what America represents.
Listen.
To be honest, out there, you would think that not that long ago, where Black people were not even had the ability to vote. People who are still living, who remembers Jim Crow, who remembers the civil rights movement. And one thing that, I take an African American studies class at Kenwood, and one of the good things that we analyze in that class is whenever Black people made an accomplishment, something big happened.
Yeah.
So that Civil Rights Act that was passed, and then you had the assassination of Dr. King, and then you had this, and then you had this, and then you had this, and then you had this. And so oftentimes as Black people, as a race, and we often always have to struggle to get. That's our motto. We have to struggle to get. But what makes me so hopeful is that this is not the first time in American history that the government has done Black people wrong. If we look at Ronald Reagan, if we look at how Black people approach that situation, this is not the first time Black people have sat and has been the target of sexism and racism in America.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, in the great words of Maya Angelou, still I rise. And so I am not in any way believe that we're defeated.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that Black people are doing what we always do. We're getting in the back room. We're elevating the leaders that will take this movement forward. We're mobilizing. We're making sure that we get the funding and money behind us. So sometimes you have to dwell in the stupidity for a while. But I bet and surely understand that Black people are in that back room at the bottom of the churches mobilizing, saying, okay, this is what we need to do in the next 2 or 3 years in his term. This is how we're going to make sure that our community is being taken care of. So right now, yes, we're dealing with it. We're taking the punches, but this big, beautiful bill will not be there too long. But also for my believers out there, trouble may endure for a night, but joy surely will come in the morning. Mm-hmm. And so this is exactly the approach that we should take. Is that, hey, this is not just, the period, but this is God putting a question mark and saying, hey, this ain't gonna work for us. And so we're going to make sure that we push through. And so what I tell my peers and people who, I talk with, your voice matters. Is at the point where your voice matters. I'm going to HBCU, and I'm blessed to have a full ride to that HBCU, an endowment, which is good, so this is not government fund. This is a private endowment that is sponsoring my education to Morehouse College. And I am blessed to have that opportunity, but I cannot have that opportunity if I know that my fellow brother is not going to have that opportunity. And so how do you reach out and touch somebody's hand and bring them up to make sure that they too can live a life that is well lived? From an educational standpoint.
Yeah. Thank you. One thing, we do know how to survive.
Yeah.
It's not our first time at the rodeo, right? This is not our first time. We know how to persevere, and we know how to take care of each other.
Yep.
Right.
And not only do we not know how to survive, we know how to thrive.
Yeah.
And so, I say that is that, as a Black race, we're always in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because that's how life has been designed from us. The fact that you can go to the west coast of Africa, enslave thousands of people, and then for them to survive on a boat, shackled next to each other, not being able to understand each other's language, then to be able to bring them to a land that is foreign to them, for them to then be able to create the building, the exact same institution that the man who is trying to demise the people, we built that White House. So it is the people's house. It's actually the Black house, in my opinion. And to say that Adeeb is sitting here right now, that is nothing but my ancestors' prayers, nothing but my ancestors' dreams. And so to say that, Black people have been able to go from this to this, that's not survival, that's thriving. Yeah. That's nothing but God's grace and mercy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that, spirituality and, the religion in the Black community is what has kept us so far. If we did not have a faith, I think that our cultural expression will look totally different. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think that we're not only surviving, but we're surely in the hell thriving. Yeah. And I think me and other people are results of what it looks like to thrive. Thrive by being Black. That should be a motto. Thrive.
Listen, it should be a motto. That needs to be a T-shirt. Okay.
Thrive by being Black. I love it.
We're going to count on you to kind of present that line, and we'll of course we will buy that T-shirt. Thanks. Well, if you're just joining us, thank you. We are in conversation with the amazing Adeeb Borden. We want to extend the invitation to all of you who are viewing. If you have a question or a comment for Adeeb, please be sure to post it, and we'll make sure that Adeeb has the opportunity to respond to that question. I'm just, you brought up faith, thinking about faith, spirituality, the Black church. I have my critiques, right, about the Black church, even as a minister.
Yeah.
Okay. In the ways that that the Black church has been complicit.
Yeah.
In some of what's happening, what's taking place right now. Yeah. Okay. If you are a Black person of faith and you voted for that man in office, you put him there, right? You are complicit to me. And so we can have a whole other conversation. That could be a whole other show.
Yeah.
That could be a whole other show. But on the flip side of that, I agree with you. It really is our faith. Not only our faith that has kept us, but you also mentioned the ancestors, right? We are pulling on the strength,
yeah,
of our ancestors, right? And I truly believe that it is our ancestors that's going to help us, right, kind of get through what we are experiencing right now. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. So
absolutely.
Youth leadership, going back to it, because, I'm sure that you had someone say, "Oh, you're so young," right? You've been leading in these nonprofit spaces and education and entrepreneurship, since you were preteen. And so can you share with us some challenges that you may have faced? Come on, yeah, we want to hear the story. How did you push through all these challenges?
Oh my gosh. That's a loaded question. So my personality, I don't fear authority. I don't have a fear of authority, which is a good thing and a bad thing. All right. Trying to be, parent parenting that may not work in my favor, but also when you're in a situation where you need to not have fear, it does. But when you are as determined as I am to get to where you need to be, nothing can get in your way. And when you have lived the life that I have lived, and Lord knows I have lived a life. When I got to a certain point in my life when I said, I remember when I was young and I would see speakers come and I said, one day I want to be that speaker. So everything that I dreamed of being, I became. What was powerful to me is that I gave several commencement speeches, addresses, before I even attended a commencement myself. To me, that is powerful. For people who are willing to hear my voice, for me to enter into spaces and rooms that I have yet to enter myself, to me, it is impactful. But as it relates to how did I conquer getting through situations where people my age, it was hard. It was difficult. It was not easy. People questioned my credibility. They questioned if I was knowledgeable enough. Many people was like, oh, Adeeb, that's very cute. Or Adeeb, that's, that's very, inspiring that you wanted to do that. And what I did was I worked my ass off to make sure that I got in a space where people can no longer see me as oh, that's cute, Adeeb, but Adeeb really means what he says. And so what I did was I created my own spaces. That's what I did. I created my own spaces and I surrounded myself with people who saw me for my work and not for my age. Now, what I would tell you is that didn't always work in my favor, because many people held me to an adult's expectation when I fell short and still was a child. So I'm 14, 15, doing adult work, but there are some times where that child slips out and now adults want to still hold me accountable to being an adult. Yeah. And so, it was a good and bad thing. Sometimes it worked, and other times it put me in positions that made me unsafe because I surrounded myself with adults too much. And it really kind of took away some of my childhood a little bit. And, I struggled with connecting with my peers because I'm used to having conversations about nonprofits, and my 15-year-old peers talk about girls and boys, like the boy likes me, this girl likes me, and my conversations are not there. And so I think those were the challenges that I faced. And personal life, not being able to connect with peers, but also, sometimes being too young and too exposed to adult settings, and that's the reality of being a young entrepreneur when you're really not having your parent running the operations of your business. Yeah. Yeah. And so those were kind of the challenges that I faced very early on in my entrepreneurship journey, and really cultivate a lot of my thinking and how I've now decided to move forward.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a mini break just to do some housekeeping, and we will get back with more conversation with our amazing guest, Adeeb Borden. So thank you all again for joining us, for watching with us, for just engaging with us in the ways that you've been engaging. We want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. Again, if you've been following me on Kara Solutions pages and our website, thank you so much. I'm building up the Inspired with Sue W platforms as well. And so I invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Inspired with Sue W. You can also head over to our website, www.getinspired.live. There you can learn more about the show. You can view all of our previous episodes, And you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter so that you are kept up to date on all of the amazing things that that is happening with Inspire. Are you someone you or someone you know on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same? Well, we want to hear from you. All right. I want to hang out with you on a future episode of Inspire. So again, you can visit us on our website. On our website, you can book your appearance. So if you you are interested or you know someone who should be on Inspire, head over to our website and click that tab. Click that join us or be our guest tab so that you can book your appearance. And I'm looking forward to having you sitting across from me in this virtual space. The Overflow. The Overflow is something relatively new to Inspire. It's where I take our conversations and kind of continue them, right? Talk a little bit about what has come up for me, what has impacted me, what has made me think, right? What has convicted me? All of those things I talk about in the Overflow. And so after our show today, you can go over to our website to learn a little bit more about how I feel about what we've been talking about. And finally, I'm going to do this until our sibling gets a kidney. So you might know her as the Peace Pastor, Pastor Yanni, Reverend Yanni, Miracle, right? You may know her in so many different iterations, but our sibling and community needs a kidney donor. And so she's in search of potential donors who are fairly healthy, have the blood types A or O, and the courage to commit to surgery and to help save her life. And she would love to share the safety measures with you. If you know of an organization that might be able to help you, if you have a resource that she can look into, please send it. Please send that. You can either send it here, you can inbox me on Facebook, you can send it to us at SueGetInspired.live, or you can reach directly out to Yanni and her family at peacepeopleinc at gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. Or you can head over to EmeryLivingDonor.org. Fill out that survey and enter her name, Ayana Davis. There is strength in community, and I believe that working together, we can certainly help Yanni get this kidney. All right, we are getting ready to come back with more conversation with Adeeb Borden. Welcome back, Adeeb. Thank you again for hanging out with me this morning. And it's just been such a wonderful, refreshing conversation that we are having with you today. So you talked earlier, you mentioned some of the individuals who has helped you, right, arrive to this point. And so, we know that your work, it intersects with healing and safety and leadership. What would you say, what role has mentorship or community support played in your journey? Can you elaborate more?
Yeah. Actually, that's a great question. I have several mentors. And, I come from a type of emotional state where my mentors become family. Mm-hmm. And so one of my mentors that I work for, her name is Tanil Jackson. She owns a company called Digital Vision Enterprise, which is a digital marketing and consulting firm here in Chicago. And I work on her team, and I've been working with her for about 2 years now. Mm-hmm. And her daughter, Reagan, I love her like she's my little sister. And I actually tell you a story to answer your question. And so last week we were having a conversation, and she said, "Hey, Deep, how much do you think I should pay you for this special project?" And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, And so I asked her, I said, how much do you think you should pay me? And she's like, no, that's not what I asked you. I said, how much do you think I should pay you, Adeeb, for this project? And so I kind of did a calculation based on what my hourly rate is. And I was like, hey, this is the number I think you should pay me. And so she looked at me and she was like, okay, okay. And then she said, well, the number that I had was a little bit different than what I intended to pay you. And so then she was like, well, I asked her, I said, well, how much did you plan on paying me? So the number was way higher than what I paid myself. And so the lesson was, she's like, Adeeb, do not underscore yourself. Know your worth. Tell people to pay you what you're worth. And she said, Adeeb, that is the one lesson that I want you to learn since as long as you work for me, is know your worth, know how much you're worth. So when you go into a setting, or when you're going into those board meetings and boardrooms, that people are not underselling you, that you're not underselling yourself. So what mentors in my life has done is being able to help me realize my worth. They have really helped me realize my worth. And I would say that Tanil is one of the people in my life who has celebrated me the most for everything. When I got accepted to Morehouse, she took me out. When I got a full ride to Morehouse, she celebrated me. We just recently celebrated my going away to Morehouse, which I'll be leaving in 2 weeks. And she's a person who celebrates me and accepts me and allows for me to be a goofy Adeeb and allows for me to make mistakes, but she's there to lift me up when I fall down. That is what a mentor does. She's invested in me. She's put me in rooms that, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. I've been able to work with President Kerry Steele of the water reclamation here in Illinois. I've been able to meet the Speaker of the House, Chris Welch. I saw him at a scholarship event probably 2 weeks ago, and the fact that he knows my name because of the work that I've done with Tanil Jackson. I've met him before, but I don't think he remembered my name. But when I met him 2 weeks ago, he was like, oh, you're the guy who works for Tanil, Adeeb. I was like, yeah. And so mentors for me put me in spaces and rooms that elevates me. And so that is one of my mentors that have elevated me in spaces. Another mentor that I've had was Vondell Singleton, the founder and CEO of Champs Mill Mentoring. I went to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, because of him. I had studied abroad in Paris and in London. I was the project manager for a limited edition Kit Kat bar. Because of my connection with Champs Mill Mentoring, I spoke on a panel with President Barack Obama because of Vondell Singleton. And so I had mentors who said, hey, Adeeb, we see something in you. So now it is time that we elevate you. It is time that we kind of get you to the next level. I'm another mentor who, he doesn't know he's one of my mentors, but he's become one of my mentors. His name is Maze Jackson. He's kind of connected with, he's the brother of Tanil Jackson. I used to wear a nose ring. And this is a funny story. We went to the store and he's like, hey, Dee, what's that booger in your nose? but it came from a heart of like love. It was like, hey, I've been in your shoes. I see where you're going, and let me help you get there. And I was like, hey, that nose ring is not the image that I need going to the environment that I want to go into. Now, it was okay for high school, but now we're elevating. Now it's the next level. Now we're taking it to the next level. And that really kind of hit me like, wow, like he's really looking out for me. He didn't wait until I got to the point where I was already in college and entering into those boardroom. He's pulling to the side and say, hey, Deep, like, you're a good man. You're a good young man. You got a good head on your shoulders. This is what you should start. Like, this is the expectation. And, coming from somebody who himself is very accomplished, I said, absolutely. Like, if someone's giving me this type of wisdom, you got to take it. And so if he's watching, I don't have the nose ring in my nose anymore. It's not because I'm ashamed of the image. It was time to elevate. And so sometimes you have to start with that appearance. When you want to elevate, stuff has to change. And so that is what my mentors have been able to do for me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And it shows, right?
Yeah.
It's so important and if you don't have a mentor, seek one out,
Yeah.
right? There's so many people who would just love to kind of impart their wisdom to someone. It doesn't matter whether you're young or old. If you are navigating an entrepreneurial space, an education space, a nonprofit space, you need a mentor. You
Yeah.
need someone. You need a village, right? I talked about that village before. You need a whole village,
Yeah.
right, to see about you, to see you, not for where you are right now, but for where you're going,
Yeah.
right, and to honor the fullness
Yeah.
of who you are,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I
And,
love.
and
Thank
I've
you.
been blessed to have a large village.
Mhm.
I have a church village. I have personal people in my life who are a village. And, what I always say is that you need to surround yourself with people, yes, people and no people. And so all the people I've mentioned, my mom is one of my mentors. That's a different type of mentorship, but like
Yeah.
she's one of my mentors. Um, and you need people in your life that's going to just say the truth. And because I'm a person who oftentimes people are so fascinated with that they don't want to tell me no. They don't want to tell me the reality. They don't want to tell me my weaknesses. They don't want to tell me areas that I need to grow in. It is very important for a kid like me, a person like me, not a kid like me, because I'm not a kid anymore, but a young person like me to be surrounded by people who can say, hey, Deeb, when you went out and gave that speech, you pronounced that word incorrectly. Like,
Mhm.
I need people, I don't always need people that's going to say, oh, that's a beautiful speech. So, like, for instance, my mom, if I made a keynote address and 100 people said, oh, Adeeb, that is so a wonderful speech, my mom's going to come and say, Adeeb, you pronounced that word incorrectly. And I'm going to be irritated, but I'm now understanding and appreciating that, because in the future, now I know that if I'm going to use the word behoove in my speech, I'm not going up there saying behold. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not going and pronouncing words incorrectly. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you need that person who is going to say, okay, Adeeb, you're taking your jokes a little too far. Adeeb, it's not appropriate in this setting. Like, Adeeb,
Mhm.
stop. Like, so you need those people who can kind of hit brakes on me and say, and I think, that is what my mentors, those are the type of people I've surrounded myself with recently,
Yeah.
who does it in the way that I need it to be done,
Mhm.
but also does it from a part of love.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we don't need a bunch of yes,
Yep.
yes man and yes woman, and yeah. I want you to challenge me. I want you to tell me about myself, and yeah, and like you said, the yeah, you're gonna be irritated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be irritated,
Yeah.
right? And feel some kind of way, because let's be real, when we are critiqued,
Yeah.
even though it's constructive criticism, we're gonna feel some kind of way,
Yeah.
right? Um, but if you're watching and you have a whole bunch of yes people around you, I need you to look at that circle.
Yes.
I need you to I need you to
Yeah.
reevaluate the people that you have around you,
Yeah.
because you need to have folk around you that's gonna say,
Yep.
yeah, that's not good. This needs to be fixed. This needs to be changed. That you can do better, because those people who will tell you about yourself, those are the ones who are invested in seeing you be the success that they know that you can be,
Yep.
and the success that you want to be, right? So we thank those people that
Yeah.
tell us about ourselves.
Love
Hey
it.
y'all, see y'all still coming in. We are in conversation. If you joined us late, you're in conversation with Adeeb Borden. And so if you just joined us, I'm going to invite you to go back at the end of our broadcast and watch it from the beginning, because Adeeb has given us some really good, some really rich food to chew on. Some
Mm.
rich food to chew
Maybe
on.
some good soul food, baby. Some
Good,
good.
listen, good soul food.
I gave you a little fried catfish, some hush puppies, some mac and cheese, some candy. Oh, I gave you some good soul food to sleep on. Hmm.
um, you are. And we talked about you're heading to Morehouse.
Heading to Morehouse in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. What are you most looking forward to?
Whew. To walk the grounds that once Dr. King walked.
Wow.
To breathe the air that Dr. King breathed. To sit in the rooms in which Dr. King sat in. To walk the blueprint of every Black man who wears the title of Morehouse Man proudly. That is what excites me the most about my arrival to the great institution of Morehouse College.
It's good. Shout out to Morehouse College. Shout out. As we're getting ready to wrap up, what's your message, Adeeb, to other young people who want to lead, or who wants to make a difference, right? But they don't know if they're ready. You talked earlier about, you weren't ready when you first established that first company, right? That you weren't really ready.
Yeah.
But what would you say to them? Someone who wants to make a difference, but doesn't know if they're ready, or if anyone will listen to them.
Your presence will inspire them, but your legacy will lead them.
Yes.
How you show up in a space, how you dress, how you choose to speak, how you choose to introduce yourself matters. It does. Your legacy is not what you're known for. It's the lives that you've touched. And that young people no longer reuse the excuse, I'm a product of my environment. It is time that now we develop the self-will, the self-determination to make a change for ourselves. My grandmother said, Mama may have, Daddy may have, but God bless the child who has his own. So I leave you with that. No longer use your environment as an excuse for why you're not where you need to be or want to be. Because I'm an example of, despite my environment, I found it within to get to where I want to be. So that's what I'll leave you guys with.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Adeeb. What's coming up next for you other than Morehouse?
Well, I'm in the process. I started a consulting firm called Borden Consulting, which focuses on helping nonprofits in strategic planning. I specialize in startup nonprofits. So that means that people who are now establishing boards, who are establishing 501c3s, articles of incorporations. So those are my specialties. And then I also do event planning for nonprofits, particularly for professional development. And so that is kind of what I will be doing as a business endeavor. But my focus right now is getting myself to Morehouse College and immersing myself in the great and rich history that Morehouse has to offer.
Yeah. Where can the people find you?
At Spelman. You can find me at Spelman. But find me on Instagram at Adeeb858 or my LinkedIn, Adeeb Borden. If you would like to connect with me, that's where you can find me. But if not, you can find me at Spelman College, really immersing myself in some good old culture and beauty. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Adeeb, for joining us. We will certainly be following you. And please, we want you to come back and hang out with us again on Inspire. Because listen, we know you're going to be doing some more big things, and we want to hear all about it. Thank you again for joining us. And all of you who have joined us, thank you for joining us today. Oh yeah. Listen. Tanya said, "This is blessing my soul today." You're touching the people.
That's some good soul food for you to go take a nap on.
Digital Vision Agency says that we are so proud of you, Adeeb. Listen, part of your village is on here, and shout out to Mama.
Yeah, Mom, do you want to come say goodbye?
Come say goodbye to us.
Mom, come say goodbye. No, get up and come and say goodbye. So, Mom.
She doesn't want to.
No, she's coming. She's like,
oh, she is? Okay.
Yeah, she's coming with her little walk.
All right, come on, walk.
Say goodbye to the people.
Bye-bye.
She's wearing her Morehouse mom.
Morehouse mom.
Morehouse mom. That's right. Be proud. Be proud. Thank you, everyone, again for watching us. Until we meet next time, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated. But most of all, I want you to stay inspired. We will see you again next week.